Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're tackling a huge story that's unfolding right now. A claim from the president about a possible link between Tylenol, one of the most common medicines on the planet, and autism. So, where did all this come from? Well, it kicked off with this statement from President Trump. He was teasing what he called one of the most important news conferences I'll ever have, and he made this incredible claim that they've found an answer to autism. Okay, let's really get into this. Here's what we're going to do. First, we'll break down exactly what the administration is claiming. Then, we'll get into the response from the medical and scientific world, which, spoiler alert, was pretty fast and pretty strong. All right, first things first. What exactly is the claim here? What is this big, amazing announcement all about? The claim really boils down to three main points. First, that using Tylenol during pregnancy is a key cause of autism. Second, that this is especially a problem when the mother also has low folate levels. And third, they're reportedly proposing a solution, a supplement called folinic acid. Now, as soon as the president made those remarks, the reaction from the medical and scientific communities was, well, it was swift. And they had a very, very different perspective on all of this. For starters, Kenvue, the company that actually makes Tylenol, came out with a really strong statement. They basically said, look, we've got more than a decade of solid research showing our product is safe, and there's just no credible evidence linking it to autism. And it wasn't just the company. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, you'll hear them called ACOG, they back this up. Their point is that something like autism is incredibly complex. It has a whole bunch of different factors, and you really can't just pin it on one single thing. And this is a really, really important point they're making. Doctors are warning that if you scare people away from taking medication they actually need, that has its own serious risks. Untreated pain or fever during pregnancy, that can lead to some really severe outcomes for both the mom and the baby. So that brings up a big question, right? If the medical establishment is so unified, why are we even talking about this? Let's dig into the science, because that's where things get a little complicated. And this right here, this is really the core of the whole debate. You've got these two major pieces of research that seem to say the complete opposite. On one side, you have this huge study from 2024, published in JAMA, that looked at over 2 million kids and found absolutely no link. But then on the other side, you have this big meta-analysis that looked at a bunch of other studies and found what they called strong evidence of an association. Okay, this is probably the most important scientific concept to get here. The difference between association and causation. And it's a huge difference. Even the study that found that association was super clear in saying, hey, this does not prove Tylenol causes autism. Association just means two things are happening around the same time. It is not proof that one made the other happen. Okay, so to really get the full picture of why this is such a big deal right now, we kind of have to zoom out a bit and look at the bigger social and political context. A huge piece of the puzzle here is that autism diagnoses have been on the rise. Look at this number. The latest CDC data says 1 in 31 kids are diagnosed by age 8. When you see a number like that, it's totally understandable that people are concerned and are urgently looking for answers. But when you talk to the experts, they'll tell you this rise isn't necessarily some new mystery epidemic. They point to two really big reasons. First, back in 2013, the actual medical definition of autism got broader, so more people now fit the criteria. And second, we've just gotten way, way better at screening for it and raising awareness, so we're catching cases that might have been missed in the past. And this search for a single answer is also being driven at the highest levels of government. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. promised his agency would deliver answers. And President Trump himself has said that he believes there has to be something artificial, like a drug, behind it all. All right, so let's bring it all together. You've got the White House saying one thing, you've got scientists pointing to conflicting studies, you've got doctors issuing warnings. So what does this all mean for you? For parents, how do you make sense of it all? Well, experts like Dr. Peter Hotez, who is a pediatrician and a respected autism researcher, are really warning about the dangers of oversimplifying this. He says focusing everything on Tylenol is just reckless. He even compared it to saying you found the one single cause of cancer and the one single cure. It just ignores the decades of research showing how complex these things really are. So what's the bottom line? The overwhelming advice from major medical groups like ACOG and the Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine is simple and it's firm.
Any decision about starting or stopping medication, especially when you're pregnant, needs to happen with your doctor. It shouldn't be based on a headline.
And really, this whole episode leaves us with a bigger, more critical question, doesn't it? In a world that's just flooded with information, with complex science and powerful people making very different claims, who do we trust for answers?